Welcome back to another season of The Catholic View for Women. Here we are again in our Birmingham studios recording our show, and we're so glad that you've joined us. I'm Teresa Tomeo, along with my lovely co-hosts Elena Rodriguez and Janet Morana, and so much to talk about. It's good to be back taping yet another season of The Catholic View.
Thanks be to God.
Amen. Amen.
We can't wait.
I want to thank, too, Teresa and Elena, you experienced this, too. As we travel all over the country, people say, we love The Catholic View. We watch you all the time. And I find people sometimes, they hear my voice. They recognize my accent.
I had that just this past weekend. Yep.
Yeah, they recognize my voice, and they turn around, it's Janet Morana. It was funny. I was just at the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. for a meeting, and suddenly I come out of the meeting just to take a phone call, and suddenly this couple walks by, and they're looking like this, and then they look like this, and then they look at me like this, and suddenly I hang up on the phone, and they go, oh, you must be, aren't you? And I said, well, Janet Morana from EWTN. I said, yes, we love The Catholic View. So I just want to thank our viewers for their support. First of all, they watch EWTN all the time, but they love The Catholic View. And we love hearing from them, too.
Yes,
and they can send us an email. They can go to our website, get our e-letter. And their encouragement when we're out on the road, really, I think, and they send in questions for us to do future topics. We love our viewers, don't we?
We love our viewers. The gentlemen, I've had gentlemen come to when I'm out in marketing events, and they come forward to the marketing table, EWTN marketing table, and they watch the show. They want to learn more about how women think.
Right. Or they're watching it with their wives and their daughters.
And enjoy. And so we love our gentlemen viewers as well. And,
That's right.
And it is a joy. It's part of a big family.
That's right, because we have that beautiful thing called male-female complementarity. So I want to make sure that both the guys and the gals are watching. And it's a great thing to watch together as a couple.
That's right.
I first want, before we go into our topic today, which is really cool, you're going to love this. Let's talk about our beautiful lady. She is just means so much to us here. Our lady of the
The kitchen Madonna.
Kitchen Madonna.
Or Madonna or the kitchen,
right.
whichever way you want to use it. First of all, this is available at the EWTN Religious Catalog. And from the very first season, we picked this particular model of Our Lady as our patroness for the show.
Right.
And we did because so many of us women spend so much time in the kitchen, right? But this has a lot of symbolism. Like, for example, she's holding the pot, a kettle here, which represents, of course, we want to nourish ourselves physically, but we also want to nourish our souls. And then she has here a broom, which is also to say to keep your thoughts clean and to clean the house. She has the keys here, which are the keys to the kingdom. And that's also does keep the home safe, but she's the one that's going to lead us to Jesus and to heaven through our Mother Mary. So it's a beautiful symbol to have. I have one in my kitchen. I know you ladies have it in yours. And it reminds everyone to, be faithful and look to Mary.
And I also think this ties in with our topic today, because Mary's fiat is what we want to emulate. We want to emulate that total submission to God. And that's what we're going to be talking about in our first edition of our new season of The Catholic View. We're calling this In the Hands or Into the Hands of God. And it's based on one of my favorite prayers and poems by my patron, whom I was named after, St. Teresa of Avila. And I found, and I know you've been to Avila, but I did not hear this particular poem or prayer until I went there and actually saw it in Spanish. Then they had the English translation, and I purchased a copy of it in a plaque, and I just love it because it's all about submission. And Janet, tell us about Kathleen, because you know her personally.
I do. Our first, guest for the first show, her name is Kathleen Eaton Bravo. And first of all, we're going to play her interview that I did with her. She herself, in 1980, had an abortion. Something that she really didn't want, but she felt she had no other choice. No one else was offering her another choice. As we know, Planned Parenthood is not going to offer another choice. And of course, she felt depressed, upset right after it, but she turned those feelings into, I'm never going to see another woman have to do what I did. I want them to know there's help.
And she submitted totally to whatever God wanted to do in her life.
She said to God, help me help other women.
Very generous.
That's right. Well, let's take a look at what Kathleen had to say in my interview with her. Actually, we were at a very busy conference, and I grabbed her to the side and said, please, let's chat for a minute. So
but this is a great example of what can happen when you turn your life fully over to God.
Exactly. So let's see what Kathleen had to say.
38 years ago, I walked out the back door of an abortion clinic and left my son behind. I was 28 years old. I knew better, but I was really living in this secular world of, bigger, better, the BMW, the big house, the pool in the backyard. I had one son. My marriage was on the rocks. We ended up divorcing after the abortion. And fell apart. I walked away from everything I thought I was saving, and I basically sitting on the curb outside that abortion clinic, I said to God, the first time I talked to God in 8 years, that I can't forgive myself, but if you brought me one woman that I could take her hand and say, you don't have to do this, and give her options, which I never had, I could forgive myself. And since that time, God's brought over 300,000 young people into our pregnancy resource centers that are now medical clinics and now national. So it just started with sitting on that curb outside that Planned Parenthood abortion clinic. And God used, it's like a wonderful priest friend of mine that says, by God, if you say to God, use me, by God, God will use you. And I think that all of us have an experience of that in our lives. Is that how God uses us through our adversity and our pain to do something for God? Well, our clinics, when I started this, I started my pro-life work a year after my abortion in a pregnancy resource center in Oklahoma, where I was going to school, Oklahoma City. And I realized even back then that there was something, the pregnancy center movement is beautiful and it's compassionate and it's loving, but even then, I ran my own company in the private sector. I continued running that for 20 years. I worked with biomedical device manufacturers, but that business model was something I felt like I wanted to bring into the pregnancy center. So came back to California and took pregnancy centers, 3 of them that I'd opened, medical, in the state of California. And basically we did pregnancy test, ultrasound, and STD testing and treatment. But I also looked at it this way. The pregnancy center model, as beautiful as it is, we're still a reactive model. We sort of go into, the girl gets pregnant and then we react and we try to reach her to save her baby. And I had the biggest sort of pull to understanding we need to go upstream. But we need to be able to reach those women. In other words, we have to be proactive and not wait for her to get into a crisis, but help her to get off that slippery slope and prevent the crisis. Although we'll save many more babies, we won't be able to count them, but we'll save many lives by those young men and women that we touch. And we bring them away from the secular world of hooking up to a world of understanding their fertility, to understanding how beautifully they're made, and protecting what God has given them, and that is if their future is they want to have children. So that model shifted me over to a comprehensive women's healthcare model. When I ran my own company in the private sector, I went up against big marketing and development companies, and I looked at my competition. When I came into the pregnancy center movement, I looked at our competition. Of course, the largest abortion provider is Planned Parenthood. And I realized if I'm across the street, how can we compete? How can we get those women out of Planned Parenthood and into our comprehensive women's health care? Well, you have to offer the services that the competitor is giving them. STD testing, treatment, well woman care, pap smears, cancer screener, breast screening, OB care up to delivery, and telehealth, telemedicine, where she can reach us on her smartphone, and expand our services into nurses, nurse practitioners, and OBGYNs. And that's what we've done. In other words, if you're going to compete, you have to look at what they're doing and do it better. We can win this battle without even talking about Washington, D.C. or the law by simply being a provider of comprehensive women's health clinic and get those girls to walk into our clinics across the street. Marjorie Dannenfelser said to me one time in front of, actually at her conference where I was there, and said, the reason Kathleen's up on stage is because, for this courage and leadership, is because if we have a pro-life House, Senate, Congress, we overturn Roe, we have a pro-life Supreme Court, but we don't have comprehensive women's healthcare models on the streets, the boots on the ground, full comprehensive care, we will continue to drive women back into Planned Parenthood. We need a full alternative of comprehensive care and continue to expand those services to be the face of Christ to these young men and women that are hurting. This is how we're going to win. It's one-on-one getting that girl out of a Planned Parenthood over to our clinics. When she gets over here, she loves us, she stays, we become her healthcare provider, we change her life. What happens 20 years from now? We have shifted the culture back from a culture that depends on Planned Parenthood and is indoctrinated into their ideology over to a medical clinic model, OBRIA, that we define, we own, we create, we decide what we do there. It's one word, it's a brand, they love brands, and all of a sudden it's working. Look, we launched just a year ago, we're in 8 states with 49 clinics. I said to God, okay, let's try for 200 by 2020, and I realized you can't put limits on God. So we'll see where it goes. But it's going. Well, people always ask me, what does OBRIA mean? So all of you in the pro-life movement get this, especially when it's a donor that's been with you for 20 or 30 years, and they love the names that are the life centers, or have the beautiful words in it that defines who we are. But those words that actually the other side has branded us as, if they have these words in it, life, alternatives, options, so on and so forth, and we do a pregnancy test and an ultrasound, they've told them this is the model to stay away from. They're going to take away their choice. They're Christian, on and on. So bottom line is, I needed a name that I could trademark nationally and internationally. Have you ever tried to get a name that means something that you can own and trademark? No. So we hired a branding company. I said, bring me 10 words. OBRIA was the top word. We put OB in one color and RIA in another, and I loved it. It's simple. Millennials love one word, one syllable brands. Think about everything they purchase, from their makeup to their shoes to their clothes. It's one name. It's one word. It's the world of the millennials today. They remember it. It's easy. So we bought it. We trademarked nationally and internationally. We own it, and now we're defining it as a safe place to come for healthcare, both young women and men. Because if we don't reach out to the other side of the issue, women and men, and serve them, we're only doing 50% of the job. So OBRIA is something that can be embraced. We did focus groups on university campuses and in marketplaces, and they loved OBRIA. We were birth choice. 2 words that they've defined on the other side, that if they have birth in it or choice in it, they're the other side. We did focus groups. 90% didn't like the name, knew who we were. Went back out with OBRIA, 98% loved the name. Men and women, sounds good. If they have the services we're looking for, we'll go there.
You know, it's amazing with Kathleen, because like so many of the women that I know from Silent No More who've had an abortion, you know, they right away regret it. And some of them stay locked in that regret for a very long time, as we know. You know, it takes them years to reach out for healing.
Understandably.
But with Kathleen, if you noticed, she immediately begged God for help.
She sat on the curb.
Yes.
That description of her sitting on the curb and saying,
Right, outside the
Lord,
abortion
please
clinic.
help at
me."
least one woman never do this again. That was amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, like I said, so many of the women that I come in contact with through, you know, Rachel's Vineyard and Silent No More, they spend years, some of them decades, with their life spinning out of control, with abusing drugs and alcohol, and until they hit rock bottom, then they reached up that hand to God. But in Kathleen's case, there must have been some sort of grace happening, something going on.
The Holy Spirit.
The Holy Spirit, something, because, you know, she just instantly said, God, use me, right?
She opened herself, she opened her heart, her mind, body, and soul in the middle of a very difficult situation, of a crisis, where you don't have clarity of thought at all, plus you have the pain, the confusion, but she went down to the floor. She was on the side, on the curbside.
Into the hands of God.
So recognizing, Lord, I'm here and I need you to pull me up.
That's
and
right.
what is the difference? That makes me think, what is the difference between a person who is suffering and opens herself up to God versus a person who is suffering but will not open herself up to God?
Right.
And it just took that very hard step of opening, but the Lord takes over all that.
Yeah,
So
and I think sometimes we know that women who have abortions, and Janet, you know this better than anybody, even Father Frank in the ministry that you do at Silent No More, is that they know that God forgives them, but they can't forgive themselves. So that they feel trapped in that. I do want to mention, Father Frank had some really good reminders for us and for our viewers in terms of what she's doing is so important, offering so many services, and we have amazing pregnancy resource centers across the country. Not all of them are at the level of what Kathleen does at OBRIA, so she would like to see more of that, but they all do fantastic work. But Father Frank says it's crucial for the pro-life movement to develop alternatives to abortion that compete on a business and medical level with Planned Parenthood. Moreover, he says when people come to a pro-life health center for other needs, independent of and prior to, which I think is key, she wants to make these centers their go-to place, period. Not just in a crisis situation that they might need if they get pregnant. The relationship of trust is already built. So they're going there, they're receiving advice, they're receiving medical help, and they'll be more likely to come back there in an event of an unplanned or unexpected pregnancy, which is what we want. We want them in that trust relationship to be able to give them truth and beauty about life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, of course, we'll have a lot more to discuss after the break, because what I want to do is really delve into some of the good work OBRIA has done so far, and I want to give our viewers what they can do to spread OBRIA.
And then we'll also have that beautiful poem from the one, the only, St. Teresa of Avila, into your hands. Wait till you hear it. We don't have time to read the whole thing, but it's very, very powerful. We'll be right back. More Catholic View for Women coming up. Welcome back to our opening segment of our new season of the Catholic View for Women. I'm Teresa Tomeo, along with my co-hosts Elena Rodriguez and Janet Morana, having a very important discussion about in the hands of God. What happens when we totally submit body, mind, soul, heart, everything to the Lord. Now, we can do this as our guest did, Kathleen, in a desperate situation after her abortion, a horrible experience in so many ways, where she was sitting on the curb outside the abortion mill and completely submitted and said, whatever you want to do with me, use me. Right. Or we can do it just as okay, Lord, what do you want from me? Every day we really should be getting up saying, here I am, Lord. Mm-hmm. And we're basing this whole theme of the show this time around on this very powerful prayer from St. Teresa of Avila, my patron saint, my favorite saint of all the Catholic saints, and it's called In the Hands of God. And we were mentioning earlier that I first read this when I was over in Spain on a pilgrimage to Avila. Right. And I took it home with me, and I couldn't get through the whole thing because it's quite jarring. Dense. Because what she's saying is, no matter what, even if I don't understand the circumstances, I'm still yours. I just want to read a little bit of it, and then we can pick up our conversation, because Janet, I know you want to say a lot about Kathleen and her great work. So this is St. Teresa of Avila. Okay, first female doctor of the church, amazing mystic and writer. I am yours and born for you. What do you want of me? Majestic, sovereign, unending wisdom, kindness, pleading to my soul. God sublime, one being good, behold this one so vile, singing of her love to you. What do you want of me? Yours you made me, yours you saved me, yours you endured me, yours you called me, yours you awaited me, yours I did not stray. What do you want of me? Good Lord, what do you want of me? What is this wretch to do? Now here is this great doctor of the church referring to herself as a wretch, as a worm. If you read her Interior Castle, she refers to herself as a worm. And so this humility of just calling out on God, that is an amazing thing. And if we do that, all of our lives, all of our stories are based on, okay, Uncle, what are we doing? God, what do you want of me? And then once he has that heart, he can do amazing things with it.
Absolutely. And, you know, with Kathleen, you know, one of the things that's remarkable about her is she had a background in marketing. She was a brilliant businesswoman, you know, up to the point when she had her abortion. So she took all those skills and applied them to what can I do now. Mm-hmm. So with her model, first of all, her first thing she did was she was out in Oklahoma going to school, so she founded 3 pregnancy centers out there. You know, that's pretty big there. But then she moved back to California. She saw the need to go
especially in California, right?
With Planned Parenthood. How can we compete with them? It's like we were saying, get to know us before you're in the crisis. And so she said, no, a lot of pregnancy centers do have a medical model, but they don't take it to the level Kathleen has done, which is we're going to provide everything. So it's kind of like going to your OBGYN.
Your regular OBGYN.
OBGYN. Right. It's everything. It's, you know, everyone goes for checkups once or twice a year. And so her idea was whole women's health. Good health, where they're not going to prescribe birth control pills, they're not going to refer for abortion, but they're going to take the whole package. And what she did was they paid actually for research, because everyone asks, what's OBRIA mean? You know, everyone's a name with meaning. And in their research, they found that millennials respond to a one-word, you know, short syllable kind of thing is what they respond to. And they surveyed a whole bunch of people with, I think she had finalized 3 different names of what these clinics would be. And OBRIA was one with everybody, and it's really working. So the concept here is she wants to reach pregnancy centers all over the country who currently are a medical model that just need to go amp it up just one more step. And what they do is they become an OBRIA affiliate, meaning they change their name. So they're no longer going to be Pregnancy Help Center, Option Choices, you know, all these names that, yes, they're very popular among pro-life pregnancy centers, But what they're saying is, no, you have to brand ourselves differently. And so this is a great opportunity for any of our viewers who are watching right now. You know someone who, you know, is involved in a pregnancy center, or even yourself, go to pregnancycenters.org, put in your zip code, you'll see where the nearest center is, and maybe be an ambassador about this. Tell about Kathleen's work and how Kathleen is willing to fly out there and help them raise up this standard and become part of the OBRIA group.
How do they pay for it, though? Where's the money come from? Because we know these pregnancy resource centers are not like Planned Parenthood. They don't get a $500 gazillion from the government.
Kathleen has taken her marketing skills, and she is amazing at fundraising. She has events, and so she's been able to raise the funds.
So she can help these centers with that.
Yeah, she can help them, and they have a legal team that can help them. They have everything in place to affiliate with Kathleen's OBRIA group.
So it's like a franchise, basically, is what you'd be doing.
Exactly. That's what she's trying to do, build a franchise. So that her dream is one day that's a recognized name. Oh, did you go to the OBRIA clinic? Oh, I love OBRIA. Here's the card. Oh, the doctors are there great, and the nurses and the staff. OBRIA is where you should go. Because then that calmness of, this is my great doc. Well, when you get into an unexpected pregnancy, or unexpected blessing, as I like to call it, well, you're already going to OBRIA. So you're going to get good Catholic, and by the way, she is Catholic, as we know. You're going to get everything according to the church's teaching and nothing against it. You know?
And one of the things that all of us can do is become more aware of the pregnancy centers already existing in our area, or go to pregnancycenters.org, as you suggested, and find those, and become more involved. And how can I help? Maybe our viewers might be at home taking care of 5 young children and can't be out on the street. You can always be involved, be in the know, receive their newsletter, and pray for them. And or even come and see. There are come and see events all the time going on pregnancy centers. So
or you
you're
can
more
even
aware,
donate clothes,
people.
things like that, blankets,
when
diapers,
you pick up your
everything.
groceries, keep a list, a running list, and
Now,
contribute.
just so you know, this is successful because Kathleen's big on statistics, all right? So just last year, they saved 570 babies. They had over 12,000 patient interactions at their centers. They had 20 successful abortion pill reversal of the RU486, and they've done close to 2,000 STD tests alone, with 950 ultrasounds just last year alone.
Wow.
So the proof basically is in the statistics. That's right. You know, they track their statistics, they do everything professionally, and again, you want to be in touch with OBRIA. Their website is obria.com, and see how you can be an ambassador about this, and maybe help a pregnancy center become an OBRIA affiliate.
I also think, you know, the whole theme of the show is learning how to really put yourself, as St. Teresa of Avila tells us, in all of our great saints, but particularly her, because we're concentrating on her poem. Do not be afraid to put yourself in the hands of God.
That's right.
You may be thinking, it's not like in my plan right now, I'm not really sure. But when you turn yourself over to God, you're turning yourself over to the God of the universe, who loves you, who died for you on the cross, who He's not going to put you in harm's way. He's going to put you in a place where you can be used to the best you can possibly be.
It makes me think of the story of the little girl that was in a water park, plunged into the water, into the pool, and out of the hands of her daddy. And she's little girl, just seeing bubbles under the water, and she didn't worry. She didn't worry at all because she knew her father
was
would
right
come
there
to rescue her, even though she was like in a situation she'd never been before.
That's right.
I know that story very well because that's exactly what happened to me when I was 6 years old.
Well, now it's time for the teacher to give homework time. Okay, the first thing is, again, visit the website of OBRIA, which is OBRIA, OBRIA.com, and spread the word about the alternative for this medical model. Number 2, call your local pro-life health facility to attend or come and see about how to volunteer at your local pregnancy center. And there you go to pregnancycenters.org for the location nearest you. We'd like you, of course, number 3, to go to our website, The Catholic View for Women, for more information. You can sign up for our monthly e-letters that go out. And also, we'd like you to like us on Facebook. And of course, be in touch with us. And of course, like we start with the beginning of the program, our Madonna of the Kitchen, available at the EWTN Religious Catalog, which does keep the conversations around the kitchen table honoring the Lord.
That's right, and it reminds us of Mary's fiat, I am the handmaid of the Lord, let it be done to me according to your word. Not my word, not my plan, but God's plan. Remember that. Put yourself in the hands of God, and you never know. You might be the next St. Teresa of Avila or Kathleen. We'll see you next time on The Catholic View for Women. On behalf of Elena Rodriguez and Janet Morana, I'm Teresa Tomeo. Have a blessed day, evening, wherever you're at. Stay in the arms of God.